Hi everyone, in this tutorial we'll start with this empty car race track that was provided from the Unity technologies. So right now the state is in which if I let's say click play, then you can see there is a car racing screen that comes, and I can use the keys to maneuver the car around. So it's already provided from the script, and what we are going to add on this game is we'll add some timer component. So let me enable that, and then we'll also do a countdown text and then also a checkpoint, and this is the final product of this tutorial. So let's take a look at it and you see the countdown here. Then I can click play, and then let's say there's a checkpoint, then we've reached the checkpoint, right? So it's pretty simple concepts. I'll try to explain the concepts behind making this and also reference the Unity manual from time to time as well. So let's get started. All right, now we have all of this stuff are provided in the provided assets. So what we will do is, let's say we want to do a countdown timer, right? 3, 2, 1, go. What we can do is, if you go into canvas, there's already a canvas, so let's double click on this logo and you can see Unity. Now we'll switch by clicking to this 2D in the scene view, 2D. So right now it's in a 3D view. I'll go to 2D view, and then I'm just scrolling my mouse wheel, and then I can see the whole canvas is within my view. So what I'm gonna do is add a countdown timer right here, so something that should appear on the right here in the middle of the screen, right? So I go to the canvas, right click on the canvas, and then go to UI, and then I'll just click text, and then let's say we'll rename this as a countdown text. Okay. And I'm just scrolling my mouse scroll wheel, and then what I'm gonna do is, using this rect tool, it's selected right here, I'm just gonna drag it all the way so that it matches the canvas size. Okay, that's all I'm doing. And don't worry about the text just disappearing there, we'll fix it. What we'll do is, now if you go on inspector of that text, I can select the alignment as a center and in the middle, and then you see the text is right there. I'll increase the font size to somewhere maybe there, and let's put the number 3 because that's the number that we want to start with. Maybe more, right? I can increase the font size 3. Let's go to game view. We can see, okay, maybe we might want to change the color 3 from black to white so that it appears and it's more contrasting on the game. So I'll go back to my scene view, and still the countdown text is selected. What I'll do is click on the color, and then I'll select white. Okay, and then maybe I'll increase my font size. So this is like whatever the size you can think of. So I go back to game, and you see there is a text. Now, I mean, we want this 3, 2, 1 and go, right? So we want some sort of script to handle that. So to do that, what I'll do is, under my scripts folder in the project hierarchy, not hierarchy, project, I'll just go ahead, right click, create a new C# script, and then say countdown text. You could say script. Yep. Now in the countdown street, when I double click on it, I get this window. Actually, before I do that, let me select the countdown text, and I'm gonna attach the countdown script to that component. So it is attached now, and then I can open my C# Visual Studio window, right? So in our countdown text, what we can do is, let me erase all of this component. We'll use that later, I guess. So what I'm gonna do is actually make an array of countdown messages. So I can do is public string, and then this is just like saying countdown messages. Okay, and then also we want to display this countdown message at certain interval. So I'm going to do public float interval, and then maybe I can start with some sort of 1f, which is I'm roughly estimating 1 second per here. Now we also want some reference to the text elements. So let's do text, private text, and then let's do countdown text, which is the parent game property to which this script is attached. So what I might have done is, actually I might need a namespace for here using Unity engine.ui, because that's a namespace that helps us to get this text component. Okay, now another thing that we'll do in here is actually get the reference to those text elements. So, and we can do that in awake function, because that's the very first thing that Unity starts in terms of order of execution. The awake runs before the start. So I do countdown text, and then I do get component, and this is of component text type. And so here it is. This is where I got the reference for the text, right? Now, once we have the reference, how we are going to do this is we are going to use a coroutine. So coroutine actually allows us to basically do asynchronous tasks for timed events. And let me see if I can pull the reference for the coroutines. So it's right here. Yeah, the coroutine allows you to spread the task over several frames, and then this is a method that can pause execution and return control to Unity, but then continues it where it is left off from the following frame. So yeah, mostly we'll use coroutine to deal with that's what I was saying, asynchronous operations. So right now we'll do the displaying of the countdown events as an asynchronous task, and we'll run that. And what we will do is we'll actually use coroutine within the start function. So how we are going to do that is, so we'll actually declare our start function. So we'll do a public IE numerator. That's how we define the coroutines, and then we do start, and in the start, of course you might get a little red line under the start. It's because we need to provide some sort of yield for the coroutine, and we'll write that in the bottom. And in this context, what I want to use this is actually we need some sort of counter for the text for the arrays of text. So let's define int, and then we'll do message display, and then this would be countdown messages dot length -1. And the reason we are doing -1 is we want to start with the very last element, so we are getting because we want to display in the order of 3, 2, and then 1. So 3 would be the last element that would put in the array. So that's the reason that we are getting the length -1 from the array. Okay, so now what we'll do is while this message display is greater than or equal to 0, That means we still have elements in the array. Then what we'll do is we'll do countdown text dot text equals to the let's get the string of countdown messages and the index of message display, and that's what we are gonna display. Okay, so another thing we need to do is we need to yield the return after to, and then we'll do wait for seconds, because each time we are displaying the message we want to wait for a certain amount of seconds, right? So that's why we use this interval. Let me put the interval time and then here time. Okay, so it will return, and then I forgot, I need to add a new. Okay, so this is how the coroutine works. So we have a coroutine and then we yield for a certain amount of time, and after that is done we need to make sure the message display minus equals 1. So basically we are decreasing that counter, the message display. It initially starts with the countdown messages.length -1, and then slowly it gets decreased until it goes to 0. Okay, now if we save this and then we go back to our screen, and then we see there is a countdown text. So let it compile the script, and let's see here. So right now there's no messages in the screen, so if I play, nothing's gonna happen. You can see there's 3, but then I can play and then 3 is stuck on my screen, right? So what we want to do is so by selecting the countdown text, if you come underneath the countdown text, I'm gonna just say maybe 4, right? I'm gonna add the elements. So as we discussed in the script, the very last element would be 3, and then 2, 1, and then we want to put go, right? Now let's say I play the script, I play my game. You'll see that there's a timer and then there's a go, and then I can play, and then go is still stuck. So we can actually get rid of go by a very simple trick. What we are going to do is, instead of 4, we're going to do 5, and then we start with 3, 2, 1, and then we do go, and then in here we just do space, and now it should go away. But the another problem that I'm running is I can actually play while the countdown is going, and we don't want that to happen, right? So what we need to do is, until this countdown is done, we want to get reference to the rigid body of the car and make sure that its kinematic is true. So what does that mean? So let me get a reference. Let's say public rigid body, and then let's do car RB. Okay, so now what this will do is we'll get a reference to the car rigid body. So if I go back to my Unity screen, and if you see after it compiles, you see the car RB, it says none, right? So I'm gonna just drag the car, the family car. Actually, the whole time I was in the, okay, I was here, sorry. The whole time I was actually on my game window, so you might not have seen what I was trying to do. So I dragged the family cars to the countdown text rigid body. So once we have the rigid body, right, we can use the iskinematic property. So what is iskinematic property? So let me go to the Unity screen. What I do is right here, all the references. So iskinematic is actually controls whether the physics affects the rigid body or not. So basically, like until the countdown is going, we can actually turn off the physics function in the car. That's what we are doing. So if we set the rigid body dot iskinematic to true, that means the forces or collisions would not affect the rigid body anymore. So we'll use the simple concept to actually perform this action in our game in this scenario. So once we have the reference for the rigid body, so once we are in the start for this coroutine, what we'll do is we'll do car RB does its kinematic to true. Okay, now until all of this message, this is a part where it displays all of the message, right? So after this is done, after displaying the message, what we can do is we can go car body dot is kinematic, and then we can set it to false. Now if we go back to our screen and let's see if I click on play, and see the countdown is going, but when I'm clicking, nothing works. So now after the countdown is done, then I can move my controls. And this is how we do the countdown, also setting the rigid body to its kinematic. For another part of this mini tutorial, what we are going to do is we want to, especially for the car racing games, there would be some sort of checkpoint that we want to add, right? So let's say if the player crosses about here, then we want to add some sort of checkpoint, okay? And that it says, hey, you crossed that checkpoint. So what we'll do is, let's say we create an empty game object, and let's call it checkpoint. And I'll drag it here. I'll try to align it to more. Let me go to the checkpoint itself, and then I'm just making sure I'm rotating it to make sure it displays more and align with the road, I guess. We don't have to, but I'm just doing so that I can visualize it better. So to do that, what we'll need to do is we need to add a box collider. So let me add, so by selecting the checkpoint, I clicked on the box collider, and then I'm going to make it of is trigger property, because when it says is triggered, that means we can detect if something triggered or something entered on it. Now, using this edit collider, what I will do is increase the size of the collider, right? We want to make sure the collider is big enough, and I'm going to do the same thing underneath as well. So this is good enough. Let me make sure, okay. So I can get the car from any side it is entering. Okay. So we have set up the collider. I'm just getting, so we have the collider in here now, and what I will need to do is, and it is actually checkmarked as is trigger, and I'll need to create a script that goes with this checkpoint. So I'll do right click, create C#, and then I'll say checkpoint, checkpoint script. Okay, now, oh, it's not showing me. Okay, for the checkpoint script, I'm gonna drag and attach the checkpoint script to my checkpoint portion, and looks like I already had a checkpoint script. Checkpoint 1. Yeah, let me get rid of that checkpoint script. Okay, looks like I already had a checkpoint script, so I might have to use another name. So for you, you should be able to just use the checkpoint script. So let me delete this. And okay, taking some time here. And the checkpoint, okay, I'll redo this step again. So I'm just recreating checkpoint. And then I go to the checkpoint game object, which is basically an empty game object with just a box collider and with the trigger probably as selected. And I do checkpoint. Okay, there you go. And in my checkpoint script, basically what I want to do is I just want to check to see if the car has entered or not, right? And also if it has entered, if entered, then display some text, right? Okay, now based on the logic, we already know that we need a text element. So what we'll do is unity engine.ui. So that gives us reference to a text, and next we'll create a text element. So we'll do public text, and then let's say checkpoint text, right? Okay. Now this gives reference to a checkpoint. Now to check to see if the car entered the 2D, the car entered the box collider or not, what we need to do is we need to go back to family car and make sure you tag the family car as player, and we'll use this tag component to check to see if anything that has a tag of player entered this collider. Okay, so we're going to use this logic. So if we go back to our script, what we'll do is we'll use the on trigger enter and make sure you're doing the enter, not the 2D, because we are in a 3D game. So, and here let's say if other.gameObject.tag is equals to player, and make sure it is spelled exactly as it is in the tag. And then if that's the case, then we want to do is we want to get the checkpoint text, and then we'll set its text to be, let's say we can say checkpoint 1 completed. Okay, so now let's go back to Unity script. Let's see here. Oh, there's some error. Oh, yep, I forgot to put a semicolon here. So I save it, I go back, and after it reloads, you see there's a checkpoint, and in this checkpoint it is asking for some sort of text element, right? In this text, what we can do is we can just use this countdown text. Okay, so we'll reuse the text element that we created earlier before for just displaying the countdown text. So what we can do is now, let's say we play. Okay, our countdown displays, and let's say we do go, and if I go and checkpoint 1 completed, you can see that I was able to actually get the checkpoint 1 completed. Let's say you run the script and you're not able to do that, then make sure your family car also has a box collider and is also of trigger probably, because the entity that is entering the collider also needs to have a collider so that it can detect it can work. The whole script is based on the fact that there is a player game object, and it also has a collider, and it is trying to enter this collider of the checkpoint. So make sure the family car also has a box collider. Let me go back, and this is what it looks like. I just added a box collider. You can see this was added in here, and that's why that script is working. Hopefully you are able to learn something new today and learn more about the colliders, the trigger, the iskinematic. Let me see what other I might have missed. Yeah, so basically we learned about something about the coroutines, which allows you to work asynchronously across different frames. Then we also looked a little bit about the collider, because that's a property that we use on trigger enter. And basically here, that's a note. If you see, both the game object must contain the collider component. That's the reason I was saying the player also needs to have a collider object component, actually, for this script to work. We also looked at isTrigger, so and I forgot to mention, this is the property. The isTrigger, what happens is, if you put just a box collider, then it collides with it. But if you put isTrigger, that means it is some sort of trigger point, and we don't want to be obstructed by that collider. And we need to do the same thing for the checkpoint. We don't want our checkpoint to obstruct the player. We just want to see if it is passing through. So this is a trigger instead of just a collider, and that's why we are doing isTrigger. Okay, that's all for today. Hopefully you're able to learn something new and apply these concepts to your game, and I'll see you at the next tutorial. Have a good day.